No way. There we go. There we go. Yes, sir.
Over the last decade, I've caught fish in every corner of North America. From California to Mexico, Florida to New York, and all the way up to Canada, documenting it all on video for you guys.
Yes, I got it!
But as a video creator and instructor, I've generally left out one of the most important and the largest demographics in the world of fishing, and that is the bank beater, the pond prowler, the shore master.
Yeah!
In this series, I'm making it my goal to fish more bodies of water than I ever have before, but this time, from the bank. My name's Tyler, and this is 100 Ponds.
Well, what's going on, folks? Welcome back to 100 Ponds, my series where, you guessed it, I'm fishing 100 different ponds for bass, hopefully learning something to make you guys a better bass angler. This episode of the entire 100 Pond series is brought to you by Evolution Fishing, the awesome tackle bag and box company that I work with. They brought me on board to help design and implement some awesome tackle box features to make tackle organization better for you guys. I will leave my discount code TRF15 down below. I believe it's, no, TRF20. It's 20% off. I'll put some links to some of my favorite products they make down in the video description, as well as my discount code. But enough talking, I say we get down to the second to last pond in this entire series, and that is pond number 99. Now, pond number 99 consists of a type of structure that honestly I haven't fished nearly enough or as much as I would like to in this series, and that is lily pads. And even though when somebody mentions aquatic vegetation, I feel like this and cattails are probably the two things that pop into every angler's mind first, I really haven't explained, at least recently, how I go about dissecting this sort of structure, or I guess cover, and catch some bass out of it. So that's the goal for today. I have a topwater frog and a vibrating jig. This, not necessarily, actually not at all, for inside the pads. It's more for the open water around it. I'm gonna do one quick loop as I kind of explain the features of this pond, the time of the year we're fishing, all the conditions, and then hopefully fish a jig. And that's kind of my goal for today, is to slowly fish a jig in and around the pads and catch some what I would consider relatively pressured late summer bass. I'm filming this video right here at the end of September in Texas. That's still basically summer. But we have had a cold front, which is fantastic. So I'm not sweating out of my yoo-hoo. Now, the first area I'm gonna fish is gonna be this corner over here. The water level on this pond looks to be a little bit low, kind of par for the course here in North Texas this time of year, just because of the how hot the summers are. Gonna move this stick out of my way. Oh, I had a bite right away, and my frog is, oh, my frog's messed up. Hold up, the line got caught around the hooks. How'd that happen? Okay, my first cast, something stirred underneath the pad. You want to show yourself and bite again? The bite would come right here, if it's coming anywhere. First thing I look for when fishing lily pads is, do they actually have any water in them? And it looks like, as in underneath them, and it looks like this does. Now, the pads by the bank here, not only are they a hindrance to fishing because they actually rise above the water, but they're also in no water. I'm looking right here, the bank line, I mean, it's like 2 inches deep, and it goes 4 inches deep 15 feet out, and then it looks like it drops off to about a foot, which I would consider being kind of the shallowest I would want to fish a lily pad area. It's about 1 foot of water. Could bass live underneath them in shallower water? They could, but I just haven't found that to be the case most of the time. So first thing, water depth. It looks like, at least where I'm making a cast to, it has good water depth. Gosh, like I said, these suckers right here are like stiff. Can't even break that. Second thing is time of the year. Are you fishing pads when the bass actually live there? And because lily pads, for the most part, maybe in like kind of southern cold climates, they could grow in the winter. Most of the time they don't, they die off. And so bass could live around the stems of them that are still down there on the bottom of your pond. But if pads are actually on the top of the water, it's probably warm enough that bass would live there. So there's really not a bad time necessarily to fish pads if they exist. And number 3 is conditions. I'm talking weather, sky conditions. If it is cloudy, can you catch fish underneath pads and around pads? You can. But from all my bass fishing experience in this entire 100 Pond series and beyond, I just haven't had many good cloudy day pad bites. It's mostly a sunny day thing. And so I chose this pond to go to today because dun, 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 we have no clouds. Goodness gracious. All right, this is gonna be challenging. And I also picked the wrong frog. If you're gonna throw a topwater frog around lily pads, you don't want a popping frog because that popping lip right there actually catches the edge of the pads. And especially when you have big old pads standing up out of the water, I mean, it's just a mess. So I'm gonna have problems getting snagged anyways, regardless of the lure that I fish, but especially this frog, I chose the wrong one. I could put a different one on. You know what, if the fish are in a mood to bite even in open water, I'd rather have a popping lip than a regular. That's just why I tend to fish popping the majority of the time. Because on the edge of the pads, a popping's better. And the last big thing, no matter the lure, is you wanna make sure that your line is relatively, there's a plane. I'm teaching here. Your line is relatively tight. In my fishing terminology video that I just released a few weeks ago, I talked about slack line versus tight line. And as happened here when I turned to the camera, the wind came and turned my slack line into a problem because now my line is around all kinds of areas of these pads and I kind of gotta like finesse it and or rip it to get it out, and I ruin my whole cast. So when you're fishing around pads, especially with a topwater, I want it to hit the water, and then immediately I reel in my slack and I keep my rod tip pointed pretty much at my bait the entire time, making sure to pay attention if the wind or just, you know, the line moving itself, paying close attention to make sure if my line, due to water movement or wind movement, my line gets underneath a pad or over and underneath another one, because then your hook set power will be greatly diminished because you don't have a tight line to your bait. So that's where pads can present an obstacle, is in the hook set if you don't have a straight tight line. So I say all that to say fishing lily pads can be pretty dang challenging, but if that's the only cover this pond has, the bass are around this somewhere. Ooh, ouch. All right, gotta watch out that I don't do too many side roll casts. And in pads, if you get a bite, you gotta give them the business, folks, because they're gonna get you all kinds of tangled. And especially if you're not throwing braid, which if you, again, throw braid on top water, just do it. There's one. Oh man, shoot, tiny one. I don't even know if he was big enough to really eat the frog, but there are some of the pads. I got a bite and I at least had him on for a second. That bite came, kind of show you on the drone shot, on the outside edge, but just on the inside of it. So I wasn't like all the way on the outside where the kind of sparse pads are. It's right where the hard edge begins. Ooh, 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 ooh. One just boiled underneath the pad that my frog is on, and a hop it kind of in an opening. Oh man, can't really get my frog. Oh, oh, there he is. I have to like punch a frog right there and then shake it. See, I'm already thinking I'm trying to force a topwater bite when a jig is just gonna do better anyways. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that bass is gonzo. He was tiny anyways. Oh my goodness, these things are a pain. I can't even tell which side I'm wrapped on. Yeah, you know what? This reminds me a lot of the kayak uncut I did recently, where I forced the frog bite to happen for far too long, switched to the swim jig, and it was like, ta-da! That's the bait I should have been throwing the entire time. So I think I'm gonna give up on the frog. As much as I would like to catch him on, the hookup ratio is not high enough, and I think I'm missing fish that would bite something else. So I'm gonna get the tripod up. We'll do one quick lap with the Thunder Cricket. I just wanna see if the open water has any fish, but I really think a swim jig or something kind of pitched and swam around the holes of these pads might lead to not only more fish, but some exciting action. So let's give Thunder Cricket a try, and then we'll get back to that. And the Thunder Cricket I have chosen is the bluegill, my favorite color in the tungsten Thunder Cricket, and it's the 3/8 ounce, so it should stay a little higher in the water column. Looks like the open water here, we have American pondweed as the grass, and we have some kind of underwater submerged grass. It just kind of looks like a carpet grass. It's very nasty and slimy. Not quite snot grass levels, but it's also not, you know, healthy milfoil. And you know what lure would work, folks? The Skunk Buster. I just refuse to throw that one today, unless I absolutely need to, but I just made a video about that. Oh, I had a bite there. Y'all saw that. My rod went bump, 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 bump. Well, if they're not out in the middle, wonder if they're under the dock. Dang. Oh, there's one. Yes, sir. Okay, so my bait was falling out there in the middle. Actually, you know what? I'll just make sure I land this fish before I tell y'all the story. Come on now, come on. Get in here, yes! That is a success at pond 99. Not a giant, but a bass that I will take every single day to make sure this series is successful. Now, what happened there is I had been using the countdown method every single time, as I do all the time, with my bottom contact lures when I cast out there in the middle. And I've been noticing from the pocket where I started, kind of that middle pocket area, it only fell 5-6 feet in the water column. Out here, it fell 7-8 feet. Out here, it fell like 10-11 feet. So I know this here is the dam. It's the deepest in this area of the pond because I know how long this thing takes to sink in the water column. And all of a sudden, that cast, it stopped sinking after a few seconds. So that usually means a fish has it. I went to pick it up, but it wasn't there. And then it started falling again and the fish bit it. So obviously that bass was in the water column. It ate it and then dropped it. And my bait continued to fall and it picked it up again and I got that fish. So I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure if I would have caught that bass if I wasn't paying attention to how it falls in the water column. So make sure y'all do that. Yes, success. And for fun, one cast with old Kermit. Bad cast, maybe two. Oh my gosh, what's that? Oh my goodness. Where did this come from? I caught a Chapo. Never in my life have I been retrieving in a vibrating jig, and somewhere during my retrieve, I hook a Chapo. I mean, look at this thing, brand new. Looks like the bass pattern. It's a Berkeley Chapo 90. I mean, this thing was recently broken off. It doesn't have any kind of scum on it to tell me it's been in the water for more than 2 to 3 days. The hooks are still extra sharp. I caught a plopper on a dang chatterbait. Make that make sense. Ah, but you know what the problem is? This angler used resin line. Let me see if I can show y'all. They used a monofilament or a fluorocarbon, and a very thin one at that. I mean, that's like 8 pound, 10 pound to throw their top water. Don't do that, because they probably broke off on a really small fish out in the middle, and then it eventually floated in, and now it's mine. Wow. You know what? I'm gonna catch one on this, maybe later on in the series or later on the channel, on the lure that I caught on accident. Let's open up our tackle bag here and add the free lure in. Thank you, uninformed pond angler, for throwing resin line on your topwaters, because now it's mine. I can't believe that. That's crazy. If I can't catch a bass, I might as well restock my tackle shop. Watch me catch like a stinking 10 pounder on it or something. That'd be crazy. Kind of makes me want to drag my lure in the grass more times. Oh, I had one on the fall. I felt my line tick as it was going down. Once again, that tells me they would bite the skunk buster in this pond. And if you don't know what the skunk buster is, I will leave my last 100 ponds linked down below. It's my favorite lure that makes sure I catch a bass at ponds. And it is undefeated. When I've pulled it out, it has never once failed me and led me to have a skunk of a day. But the good thing is today, I won't be needing that because I already caught one and I caught a lure. So I'm double not skunked. Oh, hello. Whoa! Holy cow, we got Finding Nemo in here. That's crazy. I don't know if y'all can see that. A koi fish just swam by me. I don't think he was coming after my lure, but that's unique and totally naturally existing in our ponds. Oh no. Uh-oh. I have snagged some kind of old walkway, as you can see on the drone shot there, and I'm not quite sure if that's coming off. Maybe if I shake it less, the hook will kind of wobble its way off. I was thinking that was going to be a little sneaky spot for a bass, but a sneaky spot for a snag. Ooh. See where I broke at, my leader or the knot? Oh, perfect, the knot. Great. That is actually exactly what I wanted, because it is time to rig up what I've wanted to catch them on this entire day, and that is a swim jig to throw it around these lily pads. I feel like the swim jig can get the job done, because with this high sun and how hot it's been, the fish are either way out there in the middle, which I caught one on the Thunder Cricket, but I don't think that's the best lure for that scenario, or they are underneath the very few pieces of topped out cover we have, which is lily pads. So I'm gonna get myself a bluegill colored Outcast Tackle Pro Heavy Cover Swim Jig. I believe this one here is a 1/2 ounce, which is usually heavier than I would like to throw as far as swim jig goes, but I'm just kind of, I'm punching it today. So I don't actually mind the heavier one, and I'm kind of glad I broke off. I'm, well, never glad I lost a lure, but I was gonna have to cut off some of my leader anyways, because I still want fluorocarbon leader when flipping pads here, but I just don't want as long of it. I still want a lot of that braid to cut through the pads if I hook a fish and he gets me all kind of boogered up. Swim jig complete, gotta get a trailer. And we'll see if we can finish out this pond with a few fish, hopefully bigger than the one we've caught. And if not, we can say we gave it our all. Ah, I just know they're in here somewhere. Those pads were healthy and they had depth, so I'm not sure why there was no bass here. We got 2 more pad stretches to go. I hope I can do it. As always, with cover, fish the outside edge first and then work your way towards the inside. Man, come on, brother. Well, 0 for 2. Let's see if we can do it. No way. There we go. There we go. Yes, sir. Swimming it over some pads. Oh my goodness. Talk about a pond monster. Maybe if I hold it up close enough to the camera, you'll think it's giant, but it's not. But you know what? It is a success with the lure that I was trying to catch a bass on. Now, by looking at this pond, after being here for a few hours, and again, keep in mind, I've fished 99 of these to this point. I don't think I will ever be returning to this pond, even during the good times of the year, the winter, the pre-spawn, and the spawn, because without good fish population and good bait fish population, good forage, a clear water pond with grass and pads is nothing but an aquarium. And I really think that's what we have today, just an unmanaged county neighborhood pond that really doesn't have a whole lot of bass in it. But the 2 that we caught, I'm very proud of. I thought the cold fronts were here, but now it's still summer. Will the heat ever end? It's Texas, so probably not. But there's one place I can go where I'm pretty sure I can escape from the heat, and that is the very next pond in this series, the final pond in this series. So that brings us to the end of another 100 Ponds episode. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I will leave my previous 2 100 Ponds, number 98, bam, and 97, right here. Those are both clickable links. And I cannot believe this series is almost complete. It's been one of my favorite things to film on the entire planet. I've been doing this 12 years almost here on YouTube, and 100 Ponds has by far been my favorite. But we've got 1 more pond to go to, 1 more pond to catch bass at, 1 more pond to tell an awesome story at, and I can't wait to get you guys to pond 100. We'll see y'all there.
All right, folks, 1083 La Jolla here at gate C23. If you have a pre-board on your boarding pass, you can head up to the door. That is pre-boards only.